So one of my absolute favorite parts about being a Taylor Swift fan is the TayLORE of it all. And what I mean by that is with every new album release, you can go back through her discography and find the ways that her perspectives, her ideas have changed, evolved, maybe how things have stayed the same, how she's taken an idea in a previous album and really shifted it into this new album. And the reason why you're able to do it so well, specifically with Taylor albums, is that each album really is an era of her life. So how she viewed something when she was 20 is going to be different than how she views it now that she's 34, 35, I don't know how old she is. But it changes, and I think it makes a lot of us feel really seen in the sense that we don't feel the same way about something that we felt when we were 18 to when we're 25. So to see that growth and feel that change is really cool. And it's also really cool to be able to go back through and be like, oh, when she said this on Tortured Poets, maybe she meant this. And I have that context now with the new album. So today what I want to do is really do a track by track for The Life of a Showgirl and pull out my favorite songs, lyrics, references that from previous albums and previous work, and just talk about how that builds the context and the TayLORE of The Life of a Showgirl and makes it really fun to listen to. With that in mind of, oh, well, I remember in Lover she thought about it this way, but now she's talking about it this way. So I think that's a really fun way to listen to music, to see that growth, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about it. So, of course, I'm gonna just start with track 1, The Fate of Ophelia. And right off the bat, you know that with The Fate of Ophelia, she is talking about a character from Hamlet. And when's another time that she did that? Love Story, obviously. And in Love Story, she takes Romeo and Juliet's story and she really flips it on its head. So instead of them tragically dying at the end, he kneels to the ground and pulls out a ring. And so she took this really like kind of negative story and put a positive spin on it. And it really was like her big breakout hit. Like, obviously, if you were listening to country music, you were already getting to know her. But globally, Love Story was the song that really took off. So I think it's really cool that all these years later, she's doing it again with The Fate of Ophelia. And she does do it in a different way. So with Love Story, it's really told from Juliet's perspective. It's her telling the story of how her and Romeo ended up together. With Fate of Ophelia, Taylor really is comparing her life to this character Ophelia, and then being really showing that she's just so grateful that she didn't end up going down this dark path, and how she felt like she was close to, you know, really closing herself off to love, not wanting to do it anymore, drowning in the sense of just the sadness of maybe feeling like you're never going to find someone who will fully be there for you. And now she has found someone and she's like, oh, my heart was saved from the fate of Ophelia. So she's really using it as a comparison. Instead of totally flipping the story on its head, she's flipping her story on its head. And I do think that The Fate of Ophelia is pretty much the perfect opening track coming off of Tortured Poets. So Tortured Poets as a whole is really just this heartbreaking story of Taylor feeling like she's never going to find someone. I think LOML is your strongest example of that, where she's like, you're the loss of my life. I am really kind of giving up on this idea of love because it didn't work and my backup plan didn't work. So I am dead. I died dead. And even with her performance of The Smallest Man on the Eras Tour, you see her die, and then obviously she gets picked up to do I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, but you know that in her heart she was really, really struggling. So to start The Life of a Showgirl with the Fate of Ophelia, where she is really like coming up from the depths and having this really positive spin on life and love, I think is so cool and such a fun way to start the album. Like, it really is like, we're flipping a switch. I'm not sad anymore, and here's why. My heart was saved from the Fate of Ophelia instead of drowning in the melancholy of the people who were deceiving her. So much about the deception that she felt, especially with her relationship with Maddie, and feeling like he made all these promises just to ghost her at the end of the day, and to have that no longer drowning and deceived. I don't feel that anymore. The So Long London of it all. She's talking about drowning in this long-term relationship where it's like she was holding on, and it was never gonna stop. She's like, how much sad did you think I had? And now, instead of a sad song with the Fate of Ophelia, how long can we be a sad song? I'm writing a happy song now. I am in a good place now, and I'm able to show that with the Fate of Ophelia coming off the back of like really her saddest, most depressing album, the Tortured Poets Department. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about Elizabeth Taylor, track 2. And Elizabeth Taylor is obviously this famous movie starlet who had a lot of the same things that Taylor has experienced when it comes to like tabloids. People really were invested in her, not only in her movies, but her life in general. And you see throughout Taylor's discography, especially as she gets older, kind of exploring this idea of there is not a man who is going to be able to handle this. I mean, even in her more loved up albums like Reputation, Dancing with Her Hands Tied, she says, I knew there was no one in the world that could take it. She's like, I know that no one is going to be able to handle this level of fame and this level of judgment and this level of just constant ridicule that being as famous as she is comes with it. And the line that I really think of there with Elizabeth Taylor is, under bright lights, they withered away, but you bloom. And she's like, I finally think that I have someone who is not only okay with this, but thrives in this environment, who takes that and she said before, is okay with like this big life conceptually of people kind of being in your business, and is able to take that and let the bad roll off your back and let the good flourish. And some other songs from Tortured Poets that make you think of this would be How Did It End, where she says, he was a hot house flower to my outdoorsman. So he needed to be inside. He wasn't able to be out in the world with me. Like, I am a showgirl. I need to be able to be bejeweled, and I can't because you're not letting me. I think with Peace, she's really exploring this idea from Folklore. She's really exploring this idea of, I'm never going to be able to give you that piece of an easy life. Will that be enough with how much I love you? And now she's got someone who is showing her that she doesn't have to give you peace if someone is okay with going through all of this with her. So I love that comparison of more confidence. Like, he seems like he wants to stay around. I do get a little bit of a Cornelia Street vibe from Elizabeth Taylor, with the kind of like, if your letters ever said goodbye, I'd cry my eyes out. Elizabeth Taylor, cry my eyes violet, Elizabeth Taylor, with the Cornelia Street of like, I'd never walk Cornelia Street again, so if we broke up, I wouldn't be able to walk. And this one's a little bit more of a dramatic, like, so she's showing it would be heartbreaking for this relationship to end, and I think those are really similar in the ways that they're worded. But I also think Elizabeth Taylor has a blank space spin to it. So blank space is obviously like this satire of, I've got this long list of ex-lovers. I'm just this crazy woman who tricks men into wanting to be with me, but I'm a nightmare dressed as a daydream. So, I'm going to flip a switch and make your life HE double hockey sticks if you stick around long enough. I'm never going to be able to hold down a man. And that was a lot of what Elizabeth Taylor went through as well. And I think with the line, all my white diamonds and lovers are forever in the papers, on the screens, and in their minds. So she's really kind of offering this warning of, you will be part of that list. No matter what, that is what you're signing up for. So you might as well stay with me, because if not, you're going to end up on this list. And I think it's kind of, there's the humor there of someone of kind of like, I'm Taylor Swift, so, if you leave, that's what you're going to be remembered for, is being my ex. And I mean, it's true. Most of her exes are known as her ex more than anything else, so she's not wrong there. I don't know, Elizabeth Taylor has so many more, but I am going to go ahead and move on to Opalite. And to me, Opalite is the midnights of it all. She is dancing through the lightning strikes, sleepless, in an onyx night. What album is she not sleeping? She's really kind of thinking about her lover's past, going through those different relationships. That's midnights to its core, feeling kind of haunted. The Anti-Hero music video has those ghosts in it. Really, I think having that, trying to figure out, like, is it my fault? Am I the anti-hero, or is it that my lover can't handle this? And I think you see that a little bit in that Opalite music video of her thinking she's the problem, and maybe it's that this person's lifestyle just isn't conducive to what she's going to be able to offer. And then I also think there's a lot of tolerate it kind of in it as well, especially with the, you finally left the table, and what a simple thought, you're starving till you're not. And tolerate it is really about putting in all this work, putting in all this effort for a person, and thinking the more that you put in the effort, the more that you give yourself to this person, they're going to finally maybe appreciate it instead of just tolerate it. But what's that doing to you? You're sitting here starving, waiting for them to eat with you, when if you just leave the table, maybe you're going to be okay. And then I think that she's been dancing through the lightning strikes always. The first example in song that I immediately think about is Shake It Off. That whole thing is about, like, not worrying about the haters, finding your way to make a positive out of a negative. But I also think that I Can Do It With a Broken Heart is a great example of that. Like, she's pushing through, she's making music out of her heartbreak, and she's not going to sit there and let the bad stop her from reaching her goals and doing what she needs to do. And again, I just think that Opalite is a great example of her finally feeling like she's got someone who is on that level with her, instead of it being someone who she's kind of having to drag along. She's the one who's seeing the fairy lights through the mist in So Long London. She's the one who feels like she's kind of shut herself down. She's put herself in a slammer in order to make someone else feel comfortable, and really created this darkness for herself by trying to accommodate someone who can't handle what she has to offer. And Opalite is, together, we don't have to be in this darkness. We can make light even when, the media is hating on us, even when we aren't the belles of the ball, because, like, some days they're loved, some days they're hated. And she's like, it's okay, because we've got something together. So like all of those songs where she kind of almost felt on her own with it. You're on your own, kid. She has someone who she feels like she isn't on her own as much, because you look at the world the same way that I do. All right. And now I want to move on to father figure. And the first song that I think about with father figure is The Man from Lover. And I think with The Man, she's kind of weighing this idea of how much more successful she could have been if she were a man. And at the time, it made so much sense. But I think father figure is her reflecting on the fact that, like, wait, I kind of am the man. I am the man now. And it's from all of this hard work and all that time where she was kind of being counted out or not taken as seriously as a man might be in the music industry. But she's able to push through that, and now she is that example for other people. I mean, she's literally the reason why there are male records now. Instead of it being like Drake broke the record for Spotify, it's like Drake broke the male record for Spotify. So she kind of has grown with that of I would be the man to I am the man. And then with like more of the relationship side of it all, with father figure, I kind of do think about Change from Fearless, because that was definitely about trying to like have that big industry breakthrough and working through it with her manager at the time, Scott Bruschetta. And you can kind of see that change with you can see that change with how he was maybe treating her at the beginning to you go through and you get to My Tears Ricochet, where those masters were sold out from under her, to now she owns her masters, she built the empire, he can't hurt her anymore because she's become so powerful, and she's able to take the things that she learned from being in the industry, even from him, and turn it on its head. And I also do think a little bit about Long Live with this song, in the sense that she has kind of built this army of people. You look at the loyalty she has with the people who have been in her band for years and years. She really, like, her stylist has been her stylist for eons. She really, like, she finds the people that she trusts and can work with, and she's willing to work with you. Like, she is big on loyalty to her people, and she expects that same loyalty in return. And Long Live is like a very sweet, beautiful song about a tour and how all of that felt. Whereas Father Figure is more of like, yeah, I am that person. So definitely a different vibe, but kind of that same idea of knowing you are the leader here. And how are you going to lead? Are you going to lead with trust and loyalty? Are you going to be shady? And I think she's learned how she wants to lead and how she wants to treat people. And she's willing to cut people out if they aren't willing to give that to her in return. So now we are on to Eldest Daughter. And Eldest Daughter is really this song where she's letting that guard down after learning to build it up and build it up and build it up. And where I think that she really started to have that wall was actually 1989, where she did this whole cool girl persona where she, like, even the album cover, it's like just her lips down. She's not really revealing her full self anymore. And I think right after Red era is where a lot of people were really into that, like, oh, she only writes breakup songs, she is too emotional, all this stuff. And so with 1989, with the vault tracks, you see that she really did still have a lot more of that emotion, but she realized with 1989, no, I've got to kind of just show the parts of me that I want to be seen. I have to learn how to keep my secrets, and not be so open with people, and also kind of playing that dating game as well. Eldest Daughter's really, I trust you. I know I'm not a bad bitch. I know that I'm not the coolest girl, but I have this love to give and I want to be able to give it to you. But it took a long time to find someone that she felt that comfortable with, and that she could be that full vulnerable self with. Reputation is obviously another step into that. Like, diva, look what you made me do is very much like, I am a tough girl. You're not going to be able to phase me. Like, the things that you say, they really don't have that big of an effect on me. And it's like, you know that they probably did, but she's not going to let that out anymore. She's going to mask it a little bit more, be a little bit more caged, a little bit more cut off. And that's how she was okay with those relationships being a little bit more pulled back in secret as well, I think, is it's safer this way. But if you're always having that guard up, you're not going to make that connection. And that's really what Eldest Daughter is touching on. Ruin the Friendship, I think a lot about just those first two albums, especially of her being in high school, having these crushes, or this crush on someone. I think Teardrops on My Guitar. He like looks at me, can he tell that I can't breathe? Or she's just like obsessed with this guy and he doesn't want to be with her. I think Teardrops and You Belong With Me are very similar concepts, in the sense that she's like, I'm right here, I want to be with you, but she's not taking that leap. She's writing a song about it, but she's not taking that extra leap, that next step to be with this person that she wants to be with. She's not bold enough to do that, to ruin the friendship, and she doesn't know how to kind of get through that. And now she's able to reflect back and be like, I should have just done it. I should have just kissed him anyway. I do think that Forever Winter is probably about the same scenario, just with the death, someone who died by suicide, and how that impacted her. And I'm not totally sure. I don't know all of the lore, especially when you get into like her high school time, so I don't want to say that for certain, but I do think that that song probably is a connection to Ruin the Friendship. And I think just You're on Your Own, kid, in the sense that she was just learning that you do have to kind of burn those bridges, take those risks, because if you don't, you're going to wonder. And at the end of the day, you're on your own, so you might as well, while still being kind to people, do what you need to do and be who you want to be, and be with who you want to be with, and take those risks. So that would be some of the connections I have for Ruin the Friendship. And now we are to Actually Romantic. And the big one with Actually Romantic that I think about is Mean from Speak Now. And just the difference. I love this thought that someday I'll be living in a big old city and all you're ever going to be is mean. Someday I'll be big enough so you can't hit me and all you're ever going to be is mean. And Actually Romantic is capitalizing on that idea. She says, literally, you don't have an impact on me. You can talk your shit. You can say what you want to say about me. You're like a toy chihuahua barking at me from a tiny purse. It doesn't hurt me anymore. I'm too big for your comments to leave any kind of actual effect on me. Instead, I am secure in myself, and I'm not going to let your negativity bring me down. So I think that's the biggest one with Actually Romantic, is Mean. And she's got a lot of other like kind of diss songs, but I just think Actually Romantic and Mean like are our biggest parallel there. Now we are on to Wish List, and I think that Wish List and Wood both have a lot of ties to Tortured Poets, in the sense that there's like this idea in Tortured Poets of her wanting to find the one so badly, and having this dream of the prophecy changing. such a good song. But she wants to be able to find someone who is able to really connect with her and truly wants to be with her. And the have a couple kids, have the whole block looking at her looking like you. When you think about like love of my life, and she's like, you should talk to me under the table, talking rings and talking cradles. Torture poets, she says, at dinner you took my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on. And that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding. You're losing me. I wouldn't marry me either. Pathological people pleaser. Lavender Haze, where she's literally like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. That's just something society's putting on me. And while I do believe there are women who fully feel that way, Taylor Swift is not one of them. Love story, like this is something that she's fantasized about. She wants to have a family, have kids, and she's kind of settling for maybe not, because her partner at the time wasn't willing to commit. And that's even when she said she'd marry him with paper rings. So she's been struggling with this idea of, am I gonna get married, and am I okay with it? And let me write a song saying that I am. And I do think Midnight, she's gaslighting herself a lot, and the whole album is actually her like coming to terms with the fact that no, this relationship is over, and that's okay. And then moving on to Tortured Poets, it's her thinking, oh, but maybe I do have someone who actually will give me marriage, who actually will give me babies, and then that's a lie too. And so I think Wishlist is her finally being like, no, this is what I want, and I hope I get what I want, but there's this confidence about it. And that's what I love about Wishlist, and that's what I love about the next song, Wood. I ain't gotta knock on wood. I've been a little superstitious. And you look at Lover, the girl is anxious as heck that this man isn't gonna stay with her. It's a lot of her saying, I want to be with you, and I'm a little bit afraid that you're gonna leave me. Even if you look at like Cornelia Street compared to Elizabeth Taylor, I think Cornelia Street feels like she thinks he probably will leave her, and Elizabeth Taylor is like, if you did, I'd be really sad. But there's this confidence. Showgirl has this confidence. She's like, I don't have to be superstitious anymore. And that's what the prophecy is, absolutely, is her being so superstitious about wanting to find someone and thinking it's not gonna happen, and trying to help me hold on to you. That's the Archer, but like this idea that she isn't going to be able to find someone. And then my favorite comparison to Wood is actually False God. And I think False God and Wood are two of her more explicit, intimate, sexual kind of songs. And False God, she's like, we might just get away with this because of our intimacy. We might just get to stay together because we do have this nice physical chemistry that will hopefully keep us together. But there's this doubt, like, it might be a false god. It might not be real. It is probably not, but we're going to just hope that it is. But then you look at Wood, and she's like, I've been superstitious, but I don't need to be anymore. I don't have to knock on wood. I am confident that this man wants to be with me. I know that a big rock is on the way. And I think that it gets missed a little bit how deep with Taylor this song is, because it is so silly with all of like the sexual innuendos. But the idea that she's so confident that this person's going to be with her and wants to be with her when she's been literally begging. I mean, Willow is like, wherever you lead, I follow. I'm begging you to take my hand, wreck my plans. That's my man. I want you to do this so badly, but it's not gonna happen. And I mean, that would be really hard to obviously wrestle with and deal with, like not feeling like your person actually really wants to be with you. And now she's finally like, I feel so secure. Also, I haven't really mentioned Fresh Out the Slammer. I feel like Fresh Out the Slammer has so many lyrics of like why she was leaving Joe to try to be with Maddie, and like the idea was that she felt so trapped and like she was holding on for dear life, and she had to start dreaming about someone else. Same with Guilty as Sin. It was like, this isn't working, so now I have to start dreaming of someone else who might give me this confidence that you want to be with me and that I don't have to hold tight to you and we can hold tight to each other. And obviously, like, she was wrong about the person at that time, but now she's finally with someone who actually does give her that true, real confidence. Someone is mowing, so hopefully that doesn't distract from the video too much because I'm just gonna keep going. Anyway, Wood, underrated banger, underrated lyrics, a bit silly but underrated because it's got a lot of the TayLORE in it for sure. All right, just 3 more songs. So our next song is Canceled, and Canceled really does have like the reputation of it all, right? Like, she is offering advice of how to deal with being canceled to other women in the industry who have dealt with the same thing. And you know, it happens all the time. You girl boss too close to the sun and the internet comes crashing down on you and they hate you and they're so mean. And she's like, let me show you how to deal with this. And the reason why she knows so well is because she tried to shake it off at first, but when the reputation of it all happened, she had to find new ways to protect herself. And you can feel that darkness, that like, I did something bad, look what you made me do kind of energy in Canceled, of this like, we're gonna put our cloaks on, we're gonna tap into kind of that bad bitch energy, and we're not gonna care what other people did, and we're gonna figure out what we can share and what we shouldn't share, and I'm gonna help you through it. So I think Canceled has a lot of reputation. And then also I would say like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, like this power, this female power of like, yes, I know that I'm strong, I know that it's intimidating, but maybe you should be scared of me because I know how to deal with this now. I know how to navigate this intensity that is the internet and the media and how big those attacks can feel, but I know how to handle it and you're not alone in it. It happens to so many women in the music industry, TV, whatever. Like, if you're a public figure and you're a female, chances are you're going to have a hate train. So let me help you. Here's how I dealt with it. So yeah, I'd say like The Reputation, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, all have that canceled energy. Okay, and now we're to Honey, and I love Honey. Some songs that I do think connect to Honey would be definitely New Romantics, with the like, we cry tears of mascara in the bathroom, just the like, if anyone called me sweetheart, and passive aggressive at the bar. Not that part, the part after that. Anyway, where she's like, they're saying that skirt don't fit me and I cried the whole way home. Maybe a little bit of mean there of people like talking bad about her. But I really think that the bridge is where you really see the connections to especially like Tortured Poets. If anyone called me late night, you're screwing around with my mind, asking what I was wearing, too high to remember in the morning. That definitely gives like the Maddie Healy Tortured Poets side of it, of he is acting like he's interested, but he's got other priorities. And you see that in The Smallest Man, where it's like, you tried to buy drugs from a friend of mine and they ghosted you. You were too focused on this to really focus on me, and you weren't taking it seriously. You were acting like you cared, but you really didn't care. And when anyone called me lovely, they were finding ways not to praise me. that gives Joe energy to me, of this idea that he wasn't really willing to celebrate her, and he was kind of always trying to kind of keep her down, keep her in a cage. And I mean, that the cage references really do start with Reputation, but it's painted as like a positive during Reputation. But then you look and see more into, especially Midnight's Tortured Poets, where she's like, no, I'm bejeweled. I need to be able to go out and be celebrated for who I am, and being trapped and feeling like I can't, and that you're just kind of trying to brush me off like what I do isn't important or a big deal, and you're not proud of me. Like, that does take a toll, that does hurt. And now she's saying, I don't feel this way anymore, I feel celebrated. It's really back to that tolerate it. Like, I know my love should be celebrated, but you tolerate it. You're like, oh, that's lovely, instead of, wow, that's lovely. Is you say it like you're in awe of me, and you stay until the morning, of someone who's proud of me, who is gassing me up, which is what Maddie was doing, is gassing her up, but you stay until the morning, and that's the part. So it's like the two positives of those men, someone who's consistent, but someone who actually deeply cares, and seeing that growth of finding someone who does offer everything she needs, and not just, love bombing in order to get her, but not staying to keep her, or getting her with this idea of safety, but then not celebrating the fact that you are with her, and the love and the, genius that she brings to life. So yeah, Honey, such a good song. And our last song is, of course, The Life of a Showgirl. And I think our biggest comparison with Life of a Showgirl would be Clara Bow. Kind of looking at Clara Bow's, the industry side of it all, of these promises that are made by executives of, you are going to be big, and you're like this person from the industry, but better. And how those kind of ideas can impact you, but then she's able to also learn directly from another showgirl to be able to take that information and do what she needs to do to like kind of stay sane. And she's married to this hustle, and now she knows the life of a showgirl. She'll do it with a broken heart. She's gonna shake it off. She's ready to commit to this life, and she loves being on stage, and that's her priority. She's married to this. She's married to the hustle. So I'd say those were the main ones. She definitely has some other songs that kind of touch on that fame of it all. The Lucky One, like, do you choose the Rose Garden or Madison Square? And that's her really thinking about, is this the right life for me? Should I keep doing this? And now we're seeing that growth of, no, this is what I want, but now I know how to navigate it in a way that I am protecting myself, but still doing what I love and committed to this. So yeah, that was a lot. So those are just some of the different lyrics, songs, albums that I feel like are touched on or represented in the life of a showgirl, and the kind of different growth, the different ways that she's perceiving things now. And I just think it is a really fun, interesting way to listen to her music, get to know her album better, and it really does add perspective not only to the new album but also all of her previous work. So I'm gonna wrap it up now, but thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a good day. Bye.